Ah, I haven't even shared this around yet. I need to, though. Also, I don't have my links in the description and stuff yet. Because, like, I'm slack. But allegedly, a verdict is in. So we are on watch until that happens. We are patiently waiting for them to come back with it. Because it's live. Like, everything's live right now. Hi, widows. Oh, but yes. Hello, 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 beautiful creatures of the internet. I'm Mango Jones. The usual stuff. This is an exciting moment. We may have a verdict. They say there's a verdict. So now we're waiting. Hey, Arxenium. Now, mind you, the jury has been in deliberations for just a little over 2.5 hours. That's a very fast return on a verdict for something like this. So, we'll see what happens. Hey, Holafola. Holafola? Holafola. Fit and curvy. I know. Okay. Let me share this around because, like, I haven't shared it anywhere. I just spontaneously went live. I have none of my links. I have none of my stuff. None of the anything. Now, tomorrow night over here, we are going to be doing a stream called Venue Rules, Legal Laws, and the Murdow of It All. And we are going to look at a comprehensive timeline from 2000 until like now. And this comprehensive timeline includes people that have given testimony. And it's all very sketch. The entire thing is sketch. But of course they didn't cover any of this during the trial, and I'm unsure why. I mean, wouldn't it be kind of important to include the fact that Ronnie Crosby and other members of PMPED were a part of those real estate things? And that Palmetto State Bank was giving out massive loans against these properties for like everyone in PMPED? I think that's important to understand and like note. I think it's also important to understand that like some of these people that were involved in everything were best men and groomsmen at John Marvin Murdow's wedding, and the fact that he would host hunts every year to thank law enforcement at his hunting property. These are things that should have been talked about, but we'll talk about them. Don't worry. We're just waiting for them to come back because verdict. We are getting inside of a very, very, very fast verdict that was found. Hi, Reaper. But yeah, they're probably waiting for everyone to get in. And I am beside myself. Oh, and then on Sunday night, we are going to be doing a comprehensive look at the Good Old Boys Club. We're going to start all the way back in 1910 with the founding of the Murdow Law Firm, which was founded in Hampton County before the 14th Judicial Circuit was ever a thing, because that did not form until 1916. So we're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about the entire history, because the entire history is relevant as to why they have the connections that they do. Because that law firm turned out senators, it turned out assistants, it turned out.
Order. Be seated.
I understand that there is a verdict. You may bring the jury.
All the bitches slim.
Thank you. Madam Forlady, if you'll stand for me. Have you reached a verdict?
Yes, sir, we have.
Is it unanimous?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, if you will pass it up to the clerk, who will pass it to me. And you may be seated. The defendant will rise. Madam Clerk, you may publish the verdict, starting with the back, not with the, let's see, tell you again. Starting with the back, flipping them over one by one. State of South Carolina versus.
Docket number 2022 GS 15-00592, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, in the Court of General Sessions in the term of 2022, July, the State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for murder, SC Code 16-3-0010, CDR Code 0116. Okay. Guilty verdict, signed by the forelady, 3/2/23. Docket number 2022 GS 15-00593, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, in the Court of General Sessions, the July term of 2022. The State is Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for murder, SC Code 16-3-0010, CDR Code 0116, verdict guilty, signed by the forelady, date 3/2/23. Docket number 2022 GS 15-00595, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, Court of General Sessions, July term 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant. Indictment for possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. SC Code -16-23-0490. CDR Code 0549. Verdict guilty. Signed by the foreperson of the jury. Date 3/2/23. Docket number 2022 GS 15-00594. The State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, Court of General Sessions, July term 2022. The State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant. Indictment for possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. SC Code 16-23-0490. CDR Code 0549. Verdict guilty. Signed by the foreperson of the jury, 3/2/23.
Thank you. Madam Forelady and members of the jury, if that is the verdict of each and every juror, please let it be known by raising your right hands. All right, thank you. Any individual polling requested? Madam Clerk, you'll need to individually poll the jury according to their juror numbers.
Number 193. Was this your verdict?
Yes,
Is it still your verdict?
yes.
Juror juror 254,
Yep.
is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 326, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 530, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 544,
Yes.
was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 572, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 578, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 589, was this your verdict? Is it still your verdict? Juror 630, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 729, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 826, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Juror 864, was this your verdict?
Yes.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes.
Your Honor, the jury has been polled.
Thank you. The jury has been polled and the verdict is a unanimous verdict. If you will bring the alternate juror out and have her have a seat in the audience, please. You can stand there or you can sit back there, whatever you prefer. Okay. Are there any post-trial motions?
From the state, Your Honor. We would just renew our previously argued motions for a directed verdict, and at this, on the grounds, on those grounds, we would make a motion for a mistrial and to set aside the verdict.
By the state, response.
Your Honor, based on our previous arguments, we would submit that the case properly went to the jury and the verdict is proper, and would rely on those arguments.
We've been here now 28 days, first few days of jury selection and the remainder receiving testimony, an overwhelming amount of testimony and evidence that was presented to the jury for the jury's consideration. As I indicated to the jury during the jury charge, or the charge on the law, that this was a matter solely for the jury to determine. The court found at the end of the state's case that there's sufficient evidence to find the defendant guilty if the evidence was believed by the jury. Likewise, at the end of the defense's case, when the motion was renewed, the court found that the evidence was sufficient for the jury to find the defendant guilty. The jury has now considered the evidence for a significant period of time, and the evidence of guilt is overwhelming, and I deny the motion. Mr. Murdaugh, you now having been found guilty of 2 counts of murder involving your wife and your son, 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, the burden now comes upon the court to impose a sentence. Given the lateness of the hour and the victim's rights that must be taken into consideration and complied with under the Victim's Bill of Rights, and consider what I would anticipate to be a number of people who might have something to say regarding sentencing, we will defer sentencing to a later date. Of course, the minimum sentence for murder is 30 years. The maximum sentence is life imprisonment as to each count. And on the weapons charge, the sentence is up to 5 years or 5 years, which has to be concurrent if a life sentence is imposed. When would you all like to reconvene for sentencing? I would like to give everyone an adequate opportunity to prepare for it.
State will be ready at 9:30 in the morning, Your Honor.
We could do it at 9:30 tomorrow morning also.
All right, the defendant is remanded to the custody of the Colleton County Sheriff's Department. And he may be taken away.
I don't know if they were supposed to show the jury, but they just showed the jury.
Madam Floor Lady and members of the jury, I want to thank you on behalf of the citizens of the state of South Carolina and your fellow citizens of Colleton County. You did not volunteer for this service. You were called upon by being summoned to appear, and Providence have brought you to this moment in time and these weeks in time. I know that all of you have been here at great sacrifice, particularly the juror whose job was on the line until a miracle happened, I guess, that allowed him to be able to leave rather than leave after 2 or 3 weeks. But I want to thank each one of you all individually and collectively. It's not often that you're called upon to sit in judgment of the actions of your fellow man, but you all responded and gave due consideration to the evidence. I will make no comment now as to the extent or the overwhelming nature of the evidence, but certainly the verdict that you've reached is supported by the evidence, circumstantial evidence, direct evidence, all of the evidence pointing to only one conclusion. That's the conclusion that you all reached. So I applaud you all for, as a group, and as a unit and individually, evaluating the evidence and coming to a proper conclusion as you saw the law, as you saw the facts. Now that you've served for the next year, you're not eligible to serve again. Now, of course, many people never get called upon, but you're not eligible for the next year, and for 2 additional years, you can be exempted from service because no person is required to serve on jury duty in this court more often than once every 3 years. Tomorrow morning at 9:30, we will reconvene for sentencing. You all have no role in that because that's solely up to the judge, to me. You're welcome to come back if you want to and be a part of the audience. If you like. I also want to thank the alternate juror who was locked away in a room by herself for these hours, who who's hung in there doing that. period of
No,
time,
this
and
is
thank you
not
as
for the
well.
boat case.
Madam Clerk, what do you have to tell your jurors?
Thank you for your service and what the judge said as well. And I think we can release them tonight and bring them back in the morning.
No, they're off jury duty. They can come back if they like. And you don't have to if you don't want to. Typically, I've seen jurors wanting to see the end result of a case once they've invested a lot into it. It's really an amazing thing with juries. Quite often, at the start of the case, jurors are really like, whoa, why am I here? I wish I wasn't selected. But as time passes and the jurors become invested and really committed to the case and committed to seeing it through, and are very disappointed when they are not able to see it to a conclusion. And then along the way of serving, you end up finding out quite a bit about our judicial system and learning quite a bit, well, about human nature for sure, but also about the presentation of evidence and hearing from expert witnesses and really learning a lot of things that you'll be able to take with you when you leave jury duty. And to Madam Forelady, I don't know if you were hesitant initially or not, but you have stepped up to the plate and done a great job of leading the jury as well. And thank all of you. So the jury is dismissed. Now, one thing before you go, of course, we have invested a lot in maintaining the privacy of the jury, of each one of you. And you are free at this point to discuss the case with anyone. And given the high profile nature of the case, I'm certain that the many people in the media will probably want to communicate with you, but they have no means of contacting you because under order that I issued, the identity of the jurors must be kept private. And if you decide that you want to speak with anyone.
Okay, so we're gonna pause here because like this is all run-of-the-mill information. We know they're going to reconvene tomorrow morning at 9:30 for sentencing. Nightly, hi, welcome. So this is the double murder case. This is Murdaugh having, well, now been found guilty. He killed his wife and his son. He killed Paul, the person that was driving the boat when it crashed. Yeah. The boat case is something that is still something that needs to be handled. But no, this is purely for the murder of Maggie Murdaugh and Paul Murdaugh. Murdaugh, whatever. As it stands, despite the fact that he was just found guilty on the murder charges, he does still have over 100 charges against him that were filed in the state. You have the fraud, you have the conspiracy, you have the assisted suicide incident with Curtis, you have the 9 counts of tax evasion, there's a lot. And he will get sentenced quickly because that sentencing is tomorrow morning. The Attorney General has been pushing for life without the possibility of parole. He was looking at that rather than the death sentence because there are still so many charges that he does need to go up against. There are also the lawsuits that have been filed against him. In the case of the estate of Mallory Beach, you have Morgan Dowdy, Miley Altman, Connor Cook, Anthony Cook, all the people from the boat that have filed lawsuits against him. Satterfield was settled. However, comma space, he does still have an indictment against him for the Satterfield thing. There's a lot still to be done in his case. But what this does to me, for me, as someone who has looked into this extensive history of the Murdaugh line, the 14th Judicial Circuit, and everything like that, all this tells me is that he has succeeded in protecting everyone else. But we'll get into that. That's for another day. We'll start that tomorrow, and we'll go into that through Sunday. But yeah. Oh, no, you're fine. I do not mind explaining it at all. Because there are a lot of people that are going to like jump in and watch these streams without having any sort of like information as to what exactly is going on. And it's important that like people stop and just remind everyone, hey, this is what it is and this is what it's going to be. Also, please excuse the coughing. Small human did not go to school today as he did not feel well.
Local, state, nationally, or internationally. That's your prerogative. However, should anyone harass you, please let me know and I will address those issues. If anyone through the somehow or another discover your identity and harass you, and rest assured I will intercede on your behalf. That having been said, you are free to communicate with whomever you might want to concerning the case from now on. And so with that, thank you, and you all are free to go.
That is like actually a really, really good question. The Stephen Smith case is very much an interesting one, and it is one that will be included in the comprehensive timeline that I'm doing tomorrow night. It was very tragic, and the fact that it's been so many years and there's still no answers is also extraordinarily tragic. Yeah, we will go over that. For those of you that regularly follow my channel, for those of you that may be new to my channel, tomorrow night we are starting a comprehensive timeline that goes from 2000 up until now. And this timeline includes everything from PMPED being at a certain status that it was at, the lawsuit boom of 2000 that happened in Hampton County, which caused Hampton County to be listed as something known as a judicial hellhole. And I will explain what all goes into becoming a judicial hellhole. We will talk about the different cases and lawsuits that were filed in between then and now, that some of them he's been indicted for. Other things he has not been indicted for. We will learn about the people that were seen giving testimony during this trial that were around and involved in various parts of all of these happenings, including his brothers. It's not a good situation at all. And then Sunday night, we are going to go over the extensive history of the 14th Judicial Circuit, because the Murdaugh law firm was founded before the Judicial Circuit even existed. It was founded 6 years before it existed. 10 years after founding, Murdaugh, who founded the law firm, became the 14th Judicial Circuit solicitor. He was the second solicitor, and they kept that role for 86 years. The Murdaugh family did. So it's one of those things. We'll definitely like sit down and we'll cover it all. That's why it's broken up into 2 streams. So, yeah. Aw, thanks. I appreciate that. But yeah, so that's what we're doing this weekend, because I am of the belief, and this is my personal opinion, that Alex getting put on trial for this, and Alex being found guilty, and Alex, in fact, doing the murders, was just a way for him to save everyone else. But we'll get into it. Don't worry. Because I have facts and legal paperwork.
Judge, if I could.
Yes.
If I could have you go to the jury, and I'm gonna meet you back there for just a few minutes.
All right.
Gather your belongings.
And as is my practice, I'll speak with the foreperson before you leave the building after talking to them back there. Anything else? Be in recess till 9:30 tomorrow morning.
Aw, thanks, Nightly. Okay, so they're in recess until tomorrow morning at 9:30. This is huge, of course. Naturally, in the state of South Carolina, had Murdaugh not filed any paperwork like in regards to Maggie's estate, because he was found guilty of her murder, we have something here, because I'm in South Carolina as well, called the Slayer Statute. And the Slayer Statute tells you that if you are listed in someone's last will and testament and you are found guilty of their murder or their untimely death, the state is going to treat you as though you died before they did. You have predeceased that person. So even if he hadn't filled out paperwork that says that the state recognizes him as being predeceased, well, this would have done it. So anything in Maggie's estate, he can't have. It would go to Buster. But they've already done a bunch of legal stuff in terms of that as well, and I will go over that tomorrow night. So, yes. Thank you all for being here. I am so glad that we got to witness that together. It makes me extraordinarily happy that the jury did look at the concise evidence. The jury did take into consideration the lies told by Alex, both on the stand and during his interviews with police officers. And one thing that I want you all to remember is the fact that Chris Wilson, his buddy, his best friend, was there with him on August 11th when SLED informed him of the videos that put him at the kennels and informed him of the Snapchat video that said that he had different clothing on. But somehow no one knew until recently that he was there. See, that doesn't make any sense. It's not how that works. But I digress. Okay, so now I have a much bigger conspiracy theory. I think Cousin Eddie, because Cousin Eddie initially was not the fall guy at all. They did not say anything about Cousin Eddie potentially having done the murders until after Cousin Eddie failed a polygraph test much later in 2022. That's when they were like, it must have been him. He did it. No. My theory is that they did not expect for SLED to investigate this potential shooting as deeply as they did. The entire thing was for him to get let go from the law firm, for him to have the roadside shooting, for him to go into rehab, and then be focused on that and not investigate further into PMPED's misdoings. Because PMPED has a very, very long history with Palmetto State Bank, with the Lafitte family, with the 14th Judicial Circuit, with all of the people that are in charge at the various law enforcement agencies. T.C. Smalls, the guy that Murdaugh claimed, oh, hey, I asked him and got permission to put blue lights on my personal vehicle. T.C. Smalls is the one that said, oh, there was an accidental clerical error on the initial investigation paperwork for the roadside shooting. It wasn't supposed to say that he didn't have any visible wounds on him. He sure did. He had visible wounds. Alex's lawyer, Dick Harpootlian, Dick said that he was going to a hospital there in Colleton, but then had to retract his statement and say, oh, he's actually at one in Savannah, because he didn't know. A lot of lies, a lot of cover-ups. It starts out very, very early in the timeline in history. It's also kind of funny that, Jim and Dick were supposed to represent Paul in the boat stuff, and now they're representing him. Lots of legal ties and long family history there. Also, just so everyone knows, Jim Griffin's law firm in Columbia has a 1-star rating on Google. I think it's hilarious. All right, so with all of that being said, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for following along in this with me. Tomorrow night, we will start our venue rules, legal laws, and the Murdoch of it all comprehensive timeline. And we are going to learn all the legal things because they are all very, very, very relevant to how we got here. Sunday night, we will do the 14th Judicial Circuit and the history of the Murdoch Law Firm and go into all of that information. It's all super interesting and also very scary. It is extraordinarily unsettling, the level of corruption that is allowed to go on within a judicial system because the checks and balances are not there to ensure that things like this can't happen. And it's a conversation that needs to be had. So, love you guys, and I will see y'all tomorrow.